And hey, gang, hopefully all is going well and you can see me and hear me this Sunday afternoon, evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to Ghosts of Bacon. I'm your host, Jake Roberts. And here, July 2nd, finally, third time's the charm trying to do this show. Um, and just want to give a few people some shout outs. Oh, thanks, Jan. A lot of you have been just loyal watchers of this podcast, and I just want to say thanks. I see all my friends, Zadlow, Jan, you're always right there. Kurtwood, thanks, buddy. Appreciate that very much. Kat, Ao, um, Will, always good to see you. Can't wait to. One of the things that we're going to be doing in the future. I was just talking with John Edwards the other day, and we were talking about how we need to do a show, Will, with you and I and uh, John and Jason, and just kind of freeform it and throw some Rosicrucian images up on the screen and just kind of go there, live, and just kind of go to town on that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. We just do a freeform show where we just do some decryption live in front of everybody. I think it'd be a lot of fun. There's my friend Jeff Freeman. Well, hello there, sir. I appreciate you very much. Loved your pictures. Glad you were able to get out there to Oak Island, see all the peeps and view the sights and do the tours and stuff. And I was very, very jealous and hope I can do the same here right off soon. Just looking at Z says you have it on YouTube, not on Facebook. Okay, it looks like all systems are go on Facebook. Yeah, Will, let's do that. We will definitely do that. Yeah, Jeff, why don't you what we'll do? We'll just kind of reverse roles. I'll have you on this show and you can come on and you can um break down your great vacation you had up there in Nova Scotia. It'd be a lot of fun just to visit with you anyway. And yeah, Will, we're going to thinking on our next maybe the next podcast in a couple of weeks. I am going away for about a week trip here to the Northeast, and I'll be back probably in time for Sunday. I don't know if I'll be rested and ready to do a podcast, but who knows? It could be fun. All right. Gosh darn it, Daniel. Yes, this is really me. Good to see you, my friend. Um, you know, uh, so what I wanted to do with this episode, and what I've been trying to do for over a month now. Looks like connection issues are all rectified with my hardware upgrade here at Ghosts of Bacon Central, and so we're going to go ahead with this. What I've been trying to do is kind of put out there, as everyone knows, what I try to do with this work with the Baconian ciphers is open source. I promote the idea of using standardized decryption methodologies, using the scientific method, but also just focusing on the ciphers that we know that Francis Bacon used. And then what we're going to do is, I always tell people, listen, anyone who wants to try their hand at this, jump on board. Several people have already answered the call, and our ranks are kind of growing here of people who are doing what I do, what Will does, what Jason does, what John does, and so what we're trying to do is kind of grow this community. And Stephanie McPhee Peterson, her research is bar none. Um, so the more people we have, kind of dogpiling on this information and trying to just to listen, gang, that there is so much information out there regarding Francis Bacon, his secret background, and as you know, I've uncovered a decryption that states who his true parents really were, Mary Queen of Scots and Francis II of France, and Yeah, looks like I blanked out there, guys. Z, that's exactly what this work my next book is actually going to do. Um yeah, Jan. Um, the thing is like I upgraded my laptop and we just got kicked out of StreamYard here for half of a second. I blinked out and then had to log back in. So um like I say, I hope this is not going to um be the theme of the night. Daniel, great question. Do you believe Edmund Spencer was a pen name for bacon? Um, no, but Bacon was not alone in using pen names, now was he? And I think that I'm going to give you especially because you're such a good researcher and knowledgeable, give you some real food for thought in my next book, and I'm going to talk about that here coming up very soon. Um, yeah, Mary, there's a ghost in the machine there somewhere, isn't there? That's what it seems like. Um, but anyway, I was thinking that my hardware upgrade would kind of uh, help that connection issue that we're having. But it seems to be it's possible that it's on Streamyard's end, and if that's so, it's not good. At any rate, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and try to um, um, kind of share this presentation with you. And there we go. Hopefully, everybody can see that okay. Let me get rid of that background. Nobody needs to see that. There we go. All right. That's better. Smaller my big bald head is, the better, as far as I'm concerned. All right, gang. So I'm calling this episode "All Hands on Deck" because there is so much information left behind by Bacon and the fraternity of the Rosy Cross. Uh, just myself, Will Russell, Jason Mercer, John Edwards. I mean, even though we are doing voluminous work, right? I mean, we're doing a ton of work that none of you have seen yet. Um, and there's so much, we can't just do it ourselves. And so, what I'm really trying to do here is get people to try it out. And a few people have answered the call. And also, people kind of struggle when they find something, they struggle with trying to get a hold of me. And so that's what this episode is really all about of how do you contact us? How do you share your information when you find something? And so um, when people are trying to contact me, a lot of times what they do is they will leave comments in YouTube, on our videos, my live videos, and it, great to hear the feedback. I love, and I always and listen, if you're watching and you have commented on any of my videos, I always try to make sure that I reply because I appreciate your support so much, and the fact that you're even watching what I do. That I want to make sure I give you the due respect to answering you, and I also answer all of the negative comments as well, um, because I think that's just as important in terms of engagement and really engaging with people to show them that look, I'm not just this guy who's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs saying the stuff off the cuff and pulling it out of my back pocket, so to speak. So what that's not always the best way to get a hold of me in terms of because then at that point, how do we share information publicly on my public YouTube channel? So this gets to be very cumbersome going back and forth, back and forth. One of the very best things anyone out there who wants to contact me with information, one of the best things you can do is just go to my webpage, and that is theghostsofbacon.com. And as soon as you do, you're going to see that Can you guys believe this? Yeah, Daniel, I might need that here. Oh, wait. I was just pulling up my phone, just echoed myself here. Wow. Um, you know what? Yeah, maybe that's a answer there. Well, or Barbara, you know what? You never know. And John, this is by far the best answer I've heard. It wasn't the Templars. No. Um, Gosh, you guys, you can't make this stuff up. And John, if you were here, I mean, I know you'd be using a different word for that, but you know, there we go. This is the presentation I'm doing. So anyway, what I was trying to say is the best way to contact. Everything just went. The lights went out. Everything blinked out. I don't know what's going on. Craziness. Um, so go to my webpage, theghostsofbacon.com, and you're going to see that a chat icon for Facebook Messenger in the lower right hand corner, and you don't even need um, to have Facebook to use it. Even if you don't have Facebook, you can click on it. You can message me and just include your contact information. That way, it's private, it's just between the two of us, and I can email you back. Other people have done the same thing. Here's a close up of it. It's what it looks like. This little icon appears at the bottom of my page, and that's by far the best way to get hold of me. Now, what I really want to talk about was a message that someone sent to me recently, and it was a really um, interesting message. And this is from someone who his name is Kevin. And I'm pretty sure he has since joined the Ghosts of Bacon. But he was reading my book, The Holy Trinity Decryption. And while he was reading it, he himself has also been doing research on Francis Bacon. And he was reading, his interest, of course, is the 1611 King James Bible. And Kevin, if you're watching this evening or later here on YouTube, at a later show, Will Russell, who is watching this live this evening, as well as my good friend John Edwards, who is also watching live, they're going to be coming on and sharing some of their findings in the King James 1611, and I cannot wait because they keep teasing me saying, Jake, your jaws are going to drop, you're going to fall out of your chair. But anyway, Kevin was reading The Advancement of Learning and during his research, and while he was doing this, he found this amazing quote, and he was researching, and he was reading my book. He says, "Oh gosh, this sounds exactly like what Jake is doing." And so he reached out to me, sent me this message, and this is the quote that he sent me. This second paragraph of a later chapter. It says, "Memorials or preparatory history are of two sorts." This is coming from these are the words of Sir Francis Bacon. Whereof the one may be termed commentaries and the other registers. What he's really doing here, gang, is he's talking about the difference between when you are recreating history or uncovering history. Um, you have memorials, and then you also have this idea of commentaries, where commentaries are they which set down a continuance of the naked events and actions without the motives or designs, the counsels, the speeches, the pretexts, the occasions, and other passages of action. Now, it says, for this is the true nature of commentary. Now, and then he includes the idea of the commentaries of Caesar, which were not exactly commentaries. They were actually more histories. And this is what he describes here. He says, registers are collections of public acts. In other words, like birth records, baptismal records, those kinds of things, as decrees of council, judicial proceedings, in other words, judgments from judges, letters of estate, orations. These are the things that kind of the primary sources we use in order to determine what our recorded history is supposed to be. But he also says it doesn't have a perfect continuance or contexture of the thread of narration. In other words, there's no context for it. He's saying that these are good, but these are little bits and pieces that don't actually have the thread of narration. There's not a story there. And the quote continues where he says, Antiquities or remnants of history are, as was said, tanquam tabula naufragi. I'm sure I'd murdered that Latin pronunciation, but since no one actually speaks Latin out loud anymore, I don't think anyone's going to notice or care. When industrious persons, by an exact and scrupulous diligence and observation, out of monuments, names, words, proverbs, traditions, private records, and evidences, fragments of stories, passages of books that concern not story, and the like, do save and recover somewhat of the deluge of time. So notice he says if you have scrupulous diligence and you observe monuments, for example, like the Shakespeare Funerary Monument, and we study the names and words, proverbs, John, Will, sound familiar? Now, when we look at this phrase, tanquam tabula naufragi, figuratively speaking, it means it's like a shipwreck. So what he's saying is that when we're picking up on history, that what we're really doing is we're trying to pull bits and pieces that are scattered across the bottom of the ocean. And it's a struggle to go down and pull them up and put them together back into a form that's, easy for us to understand. Okay, because it's scattered. What it literally means, naufragium is a shipwreck, but it also means disgrace, ruin, loss, or disaster. Another word for it is breakdown. And tanquam tabula means as a table. So as a table breakdown. So that's actually what I did with Shakespeare's Funerary Monument. And again, Kevin followed up that quote with this note. He says, it's as if he is predicting a monument that would stand the test of time and definitely used names, words, proverbs, etc. Well said, Kevin. And again, it's like I'm sorry it's taken so long for me to give you props on this message you sent me, because this is something that I found to be very, very useful. And I definitely have found use for it. So, as a quote unquote table breakdown, it says when industrious persons, by an exact and scrupulous diligence and observation. Well, what I did was I rearranged all of these characters in tabular form, in tables, in cryptanalysis tables for a transposition cipher, as is the standard operating procedure for doing that. And so, never have I been quite so industrious, but I definitely was when I did that. And through a very diligent observation, I've been able to actually recover, I think, a true piece of history from the deluge of time. So here's key 38 permutation. This is what I would call a tabular breakdown. Now, the algorithms that you use to rearrange the characters of the plaque will produce all these characters in this table, in this format. And so what I was able to do is, out of this monument, key in on words, names, and fragments of stories. And from that, I saved from the deluge of time the fact that Francis Bacon was the son of Mary Queen of Scots and Francis II. So these tables are the messages being sent to us over time. So here's my all hands on deck all call. Anybody who wants to help in this research. And like I said, I always give shout outs to Jason, Will, John, Stephanie, Z, Zantlo. You've been like sending us lots of really good little tidbits. And there are a couple of others who don't want to be named at this point. But I want to say thanks. But there's just so much out there. And I know that Jason and Will and John and Stephanie, that wherever we look, we just see more of it. It's a true warren. It's a true rabbit hole. And so it just doesn't end. So Kevin, thank you for the heads up. Recently, a friend named Decimus with a pseudonym, even though it's like people know that a lot of times people come on with pseudonyms and things like that. And unless they share their name with me, I tend to look at them a little bit suspiciously. And Decimus has shared his true name with me. He has very good reasons for, keeping himself kind of behind the scenes. I get it. And other people, don't feel comfortable using their real name on Facebook, and that's fine. But if you reach out to me, I'd kind of like to know your sincerity And these people have definitely done exactly that. Now, if you're going to do this, please use standard methodologies, not the kinds of things that we saw, at the turn of the century, in the 19th century and 20th century, um, you know, um, with uh, some of the researchers who have been completely debunked. We've done previous shows on those uh, individuals, and they did not use standard methodologies. They did not use approved cryptographic and cryptanalysis techniques. And so I ask that people, just follow these standard operating procedures that can be performed in a standardized way that produce results. If you're able to do that, then please jump on board. All of my information, as I've said, is open source. You can go to my website, look at my books, um, and recognize that you too can do exactly what it is I do, and what Will does, what John does, Jason, Stephanie, everyone else. So just use a standard operating procedure that is scientific in terms of cryptanalysis techniques. That's all we ask. Because as I said, there's just so much out there that we can't possibly. I know I can't, cover all of it in a lifetime. And where my current research is heading, it's going to be less in terms of publishing at the moment, except for this summer after my next book comes out. It's going to be actually taking an active role in using the information. That's as much as I'm at liberty to say at this point. But this summer, my next book, The Keys of the Rosy Cross and the Ghosts of Bacon, is going to be coming out. It's in the works right now. The final stages of being pieced together. This is the tentative book cover. Please give feedback if you like it or not. Let me know. But that's it, peeps. That's what I wanted to talk about tonight with all hands on deck. And let's go to the comments. And I love how the conversation kind of changes. Hey, Penn, I'm glad you're here. LOL. Oh my gosh, Daniel. Yeah, Elizabeth Gallup. That's one of the people I was just talking about. Uh, oh my gosh. Now, t-shirts from that commercial. Okay, yeah. The way the conversation takes a turn. All right, Tom. Great question. Thank you. Question for contributors: how much time on average during a week do you spend pondering over things like paintings, King James Bible, and what is the frequency of your discoveries? Oh boy, John, you were right on the spot there. 20 hours a week, yeah, at least. And this is a great way of answering the second part, John. Thank you. Discoveries build once you know what you're looking for, and the way it works. And Z has an answer here as well. Several hours a day, and I find stuff constantly. Yeah, me too, Z. That's just it, gang. It's like at this point, as soon as I look at something, look at an image, I'll just start kind of giggling to myself because I'll just start saying things. I'll do the math quickly in my head and say, oh gosh, that's the 34th prime number. That's important. Weird stuff and nerdy stuff like that. So yeah, Tom, I find myself at this point pretty much doing it constantly. And while I'm editing my book and piecing it together, I'm trying to organize in terms of the order of the chapters that they should appear in, and that's where I am right now. I'm piecing it all together in a final manuscript to send it off. As I'm editing, I make discoveries. And so where suddenly I say, oh, geez, I never even noticed this before. And then next thing you know, I'm doing a quick revision and including new information that was a new discovery while I was actually doing some editing. So it's constant. It's one of those things where as you continue to follow the clues where they lead you, the discoveries just pop up, like what Z was describing. And so it's one of those things where one clue leads to the next, leads to the next, and each clue itself is a discovery, but it continues to lead you forward until you see the whole picture. Um, so yeah, um, exactly, Curtis. Fragments of stories is interesting to me as it seems I see things in leaps and bounds here and there that tie together. Well, that's what he's done. He's left these pieces, disparate pieces in different locations, and when you see them, think of it as a mosaic, gang. They left behind all of these bits and pieces that you start to recognize their work, and then when you put them all together and you take a step back, those little bits and pieces that look interesting form a giant picture. It's a mosaic, and yeah, Curtis. Tom, as far as I know, John does not sleep. Uh, you know what, Daniel? You know what? I agree with you. Yeah, there's there are pieces there as well. Yeah, AO, well said. We're taught the history that people think they know. It's not. I don't necessarily want to believe that it's what they want us to know, even though it is, in that sense. Because George Orwell said it best that he who controls the present controls the past. Who controls the past controls the future. If you can control people's limited understanding of what was really done in the past and allow them to continue to believe that they are the pinnacle of achievement, like what people believe today, uh, you can keep them under control for sure. Um, there's so many things that we don't know. You know what, Jan? That's really well said. We are always taught what will cause the least controversy. Yes, truth is sometimes skipped over. Uh, Not only is it skipped over, it's ignored. Because it requires work, it requires effort. We're taught, and I'm saying this as a teacher because I've seen this, at work. Uh, People tend to be taught what's easiest to teach, and the truth is not always easy to teach at all. It's very, very difficult. Some of us try our best to do it. Um, and oh, here's somebody I forgot to give a shout out to. Guitarist, yes. Uh, the gang, this guy is doing some really great cipher work as well. And we will accept any of your help you can give, my friend. I appreciate it very much. Um, Z, all over Europe. Um, these guys, particularly Bacon, and I've mentioned his name before in previous podcasts, but Sir Walter Raleigh plays a much larger role in the Fraternity of the Rosy Cross than anyone could ever have imagined, and it's all in my next book. These guys were at work all over Europe. Oh, don't get me started on Champlain, Tom. you know, um, Z, yeah, there are so many rabbit holes, and it just continues to go on. Don't worry, Pen. I already have one ready for you for my next book. Oh, updates on Ryan. Yeah, thanks, Ray and Linda. Your comment right underneath this one. Um, uh, Ryan called me about a month ago. There was apparently there was a little bit of a uh, conclave of people, you know, diverge or converging on the site, and they had to shut it down for a little while. Um, and he promised he was going to give me updates this summer as they continue to uncover things. Um, he hasn't had any new videos out in a while, Linda. Yeah, you're right. Um, And again, he just gave me a quick update saying, "Hey, listen, we had to shut things down for a little bit," and he still believes that he's on the verge of a big find. But as soon as he has anything to report, he's going to get back to me, and I'll have him on. Just such an interesting site he's uncovered. Yeah. Um, Will, there's no doubt that I've missed something, but there's also a lot of things that I didn't miss that I left out. I'm going to be including it here in the next book, but I can't wait to see what you found, my friend. I'd love to. We'll have to compare notes soon. This is showing up his face. 14 to 30 hours a week. Yeah, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Mr. Unclean, really, John? Oh, Tracy, great question. Yeah, I have a few ideas on that. And I've looked at it, but this work with Bacon is going to be far more productive. And believe it or not, um, let's just say that his Sir Francis Bacon's relation to, say, treasure stories doesn't end with Oak Island, Nova Scotia. Um, so though the Beale cipher really interests me, I kind of set that aside for some of my newer discoveries because I think they're going to be far more productive. I'd love to tell you more, Trace, but well, for another day. Yep. Here's another answer. 2 to 3 hours most days. Sometimes marathon sessions. Same here, Aki. Yeah. Uh, so I'm gonna focus on better understand Bacon's intention based on philosophies, his influences, application of methodologies. Yeah, that's such a great angle to take. I'd love to hear your input on that for sure. Have to have you on the show soon, Aki. Um, Tom, that's 100% accurate. And you personally have actually seen my work with uh, one of the Champlain maps in particular. It's not the only one that has that stuff in it. That's where my main area of focus is at this point. And the answer is yes, Daniel. One of the things that Bacon was doing was pushing the colonization of the Americas. And he and Sir Walter Raleigh, as you well know, were heavily focused on this, specifically for the creation of a new nation. They really believed this was something that could break the stranglehold the Vatican had on the world. I think that's my personal opinion, based upon what I've seen. But that was the big motivation behind it. There's one other element to it as well, that it was in my first book. Francis Bacon felt that it was his chance to rule his own nation, and he did rule New France. So, um, great question. Yes, Linda, it really did. Um, and that's kind of the nature of the beast. Those of us who do some original research oftentimes find that our ideas pop up in other places, and I'm pretty sure that's how the authors of was it Lincoln Bay and Lee were able to sue uh, Dan Brown. Yeah, Daniel. At some point, I'm going to have to give you a call, buddy. As soon as my next book comes out, I'll share the underlying connection that we've all been missing this whole time. And I know you've seen it for sure on the surface, without a doubt. Um, Hey, Carolyn, glad you could join us. Um, well, Z, that really is the question, isn't it? Who will believe what we find? Well, luckily for me, I've found such a good audience in all of you. You all tune in. When I'm able to, when I'm actually able to do this podcast. We're finally getting through this smoothly, and knock on wood at this point. Um, and it starts with a small group of people who are willing to actually look at the evidence we put out there, and that's what I've been able to. I personally feel proud of. I've been able to achieve with all of you. All of you have taken the time to look at my work, um, and recognize that. And my favorite line out of all of this so far is still comes from you, Will. Will Russell, came on my show and he says, "Well, I was watching your podcast and I'm like, wow, this guy is crazy, but he certainly seems to believe what he says." And I said in that podcast, I said, "Try it out for yourself." And Will did. And next thing he knew, um, he found out that he was seeing a lot of the same things I saw. And I think that's really what it takes, Z, is us continuing to just put the truth out there, continuing to throw it out there and tell other people, don't just dismiss it. If you think we're wrong, disprove it. Here's my evidence. Now the onus is on you. And great comment, Tom. North America was a blank canvas. They could create their own version of the perfect society. That's what Bacon outlined in the New Atlantis. 100%. Yep. Jenny, that's one of the thoughts out there for sure. Yeah. They were looking at this idea of a locus of control, using faith as a way of controlling populations. This is not a new idea at all. Bacon was not the first to kind of put that idea out there, but he was also a faithful person. He was religious in the faith of the Anglican Church, and so um, again, it's one of those things where I think that what Bacon wanted was a place in the world where people could live their life on their own terms, not just find God on their own terms, but live their life on their own terms, based upon meritocracy. The idea of intellectual pursuits, um, being able to pursue science in an environment that was free and be intellectually honest and free. I think that's what it was really all about. Yeah, great question. Thanks, Amy. Oh yeah, there you go. Aki's 100%. The KJV underpinned constitutional law in the New World colonies, an opportunity to write and run the game without the fame. Yeah. Heads remaining on shoulders. Well, isn't that important? Particularly when we're talking about this era. So, and Tom, once again, always love it when you dispense wisdom on my podcast and on other podcasts. One good thing about the internet is people are learning to be more open minded and at the same time more analytical about what they are reading. 100%, Tom. I really hope that's true. Um, me being a high school teacher and dealing with teenagers and watching trends move in different directions, it seems to be moving in two divergent paths, where we have a small group of students who do exactly that. They follow the truth where it leads them. They try to be analytical. They try to discern the BS from the chocolate pudding. And then there are others who just simply accept it all as the same thing. And even though the latter is a little bit frightening, uh, I do have hope. I do have hope. Yeah, Jan. It is a sovereign nation unto itself. Kat, great question. I think that a lot of what James was doing with the witch hunting was how do I say this? I don't want to say posturing. It was legit. He was really trying to demonstrate himself as the defender of the faith. But at the same time, uh, I think that Bacon's influence on James was such that he didn't have to flee James. So it's a great question. Oh, Tracy, great question. Yeah, I don't think everyone is aware of this. This is something that is fairly recent, and I think this should be one of the biggest stories, you know, current event stories, ongoing. And you don't see this in the media at all. But yeah, Pope Benedict had begun an entirely new translation of the Bible from original texts, and they're still working on it, which I think is fascinating. I think it's intriguing. And the thing is that anytime someone does an initiative like this, they always open themselves up to, the big question of, are you filtering information? Are you arbitrarily translating things the way you want them? Is this going to be a direct translation? In other words, is it completely objective? Uh, so hopefully it is. I don't know. Very, very interesting thoughts, gang. As usual, you know what? It's like I say this every episode, but you guys always bring your A game, and I appreciate you very much. Um, and I'm gonna go ahead and since everything's working smoothly, I want to end this on a good note and wrap things up. Thanks for joining me this evening. I appreciate you all. And thanks for sticking with me through all of these technical difficulties over the last month or so. It looks like we have it licked, even though that started off with a pretty rough start here. Not really sure still don't know what happened there, but it was pretty crazy. Can't say as I'm surprised though. So as usual, I want to tell everyone, thanks for joining me. Appreciate you all very much. Keep being cool to each other, and I'll see you next time in Ghost of Bacon. Until next time, start digging in, gang. If you find anything, give us a shout. Go to my webpage, use that message button, and get back at us. Thanks, peeps. Have a great week ahead. Have a great 4th of July weekend here in the States. And we'll see you next time.